we're in crunch week right now as we wind down to Christmas coming up here just in a few days. So people are in a hurry. They're already distracted with many of the things that are going on in our lives this year. But it's time to remind everybody we need to slow down and think about some things that could cause us major danger going into this weekend. And a lot of that has to do with candles, overloading electrical outlets, because I've seen a lot more Christmas lights out this year because I think people are just spending more time at home, taking more time to decorate. And so we want to make sure that everybody's doing that safely. And of course, I've got a Christmas tree behind. We'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, before we get into some of these other items, let's start out by talking about candles. We have a lot of fires that are started by candles year round, but during the holiday season, everyone likes to light off the nice smelling candles like I have here. The cinnamon and spice make the whole home smell festive, of which I'm trying to do here in the Bay, but it's going to take a lot more candles. But one of the big things we see with the candles are they go unattended. Or Christmas morning, mom's got the candles out, house is smelling perfect, everybody starts opening their gifts, and the next thing you know, I'm going to show you real quick what can happen. So wrapping papers are flying, kids are having a great time, but what they forgot about was the fact that there was a candle nearby that the paper got attached to. And when that happens, we might notice this and we might not, but it could smolder, could go unattended for quite a long time. And this fire will spread rapidly. And so we just need to pay attention to where we're putting our wrapping paper, make sure we're disposing of that properly, just like I did there and got rid of that. So don't leave these unattended. If you are going to have a lot of wrapping paper, just blow them out for the time being. Also, if you really want to get smart about candles, they don't smell as good, but the battery-powered candles are a safe option for people if they want to add some candle festivities. Let's talk a little bit about getting rid of our wrapping paper and our boxes. So a lot of people that have fireplaces love to take all the boxes and the wrapping paper and just throw them in the fireplace and get rid of them. It's a bad idea, and these are the reasons why it's a bad idea. This wrapping paper that I have here in this box has a lot of ink in it, and the ink gives off toxins and also burn rapidly. And if you have creosote buildup and you have not taken care of your chimney, then you're going to end up causing a chimney fire, which could extend to your home and do serious damage. The boxes themselves have a lot of glue in them, and that helps build up that creosote in your chimney. So don't dispose of them in your chimney, dispose of them in the trash properly like you should. So we move on down the line here, and let's talk about Christmas tree care. Because the people that religiously get live Christmas trees every year, you make sure they're taking care of it. Now, many of you have had your live Christmas tree up for a while, and even though my Christmas tree looks very green back here, it's actually extremely dry because I've neglected to water this tree. And so even as green as it looks, problem exists. I have to take my glove off here real quick. Pull the trigger on the slider. If this gets near a heat source, like a candle, anything hot, or we would have anything electrical, like my space heater here to the right, it looks green, but it does not take very long to get this tree growing and going. And if you've seen any of these videos of these Christmas tree fires that we put out every year, you can see that the fire spreads rapidly. And again, if that's unattended and we don't have a working smoke alarm, we'll talk about here in a second, then that can cause major problems for us also. When we're taking care of the tree, we should be giving our tree a drink, like a gallon drink every 24 hours. We should never let it run dry, because even though we brought it home, we cut the bottom off, we have that fresh cut, we let it run out of water, then the sap builds across the base of that tree and it won't take on any more water. So if you notice that your tree is not using the water, that's probably a problem you need to address. If you've had the tree in the house already for a while, and you're going up, in mine, all you have to do is squeeze the needles and they fall off. It's time to probably get rid of the tree. Now, I know everybody likes to hang on to these things, even after a few days after Christmas, but if it's in that condition, we need to get rid of it because it does become a fire hazard at that point. There are a lot of communities that have tree disposal areas where you can get rid of your tree, so I'd recommend that you take the tree down as soon as Christmas is over and get it out of the home to reduce that hazard. Talking about, everyone likes to do a little Griswold action. Like I said, I've seen a lot of people decorating this year. Overloading electrical outlets is a problem. You're going to pull too much energy through cord, and you could have a faulty outlet, and you could end up having a fire start in the middle of the night. And so that's why we always recommend at night when you go to bed, you should always unplug all your Christmas lights. Just make sure everything's turned off. I know how some people like to go to sleep at night and with the Christmas lights glowing, but honestly, it's best if you just shut all those lights off so that you don't have to worry about this. And just don't overload electrical outlets. We've seen the movie with the Griswolds, and how he just overloads everything, and it does catch fire at times. So we need to be very careful with that. Space heaters, these things need to be kept 3 feet away from anything combustible. We have space heater fires that start across Indiana every year, and we do have fatal space heater fires. And usually they're fatal because in combination, folks don't have a working smoke alarm in their home. So the space heater needs to be kept 3 feet away from anything combustible. We need to shut it off anytime we lose home or leave home, or anytime that we go to bed. I know people like to keep the room warm at night when they go to bed, but hey, add a few extra blankets or get a little bit better at snuggling to stay warm overnight, because they're just very dangerous. And what people don't realize is they have their space heater on near their bed, they go to bed, and when they go to sleep, what happens is the materials from the blanket can slide off the bed, because I'm a restless sleeper myself. And so when that material slides off the bed, it gets near the space heater. Over time, it will start to break down this material. It will start off-gassing. It's not necessarily the fire that's going to severely injure us or could take our life. It's the gases that this is putting off that may go unknown without a working smoke alarm in the home. So be very careful with the space heaters. And again, I want to reinforce the smoke alarms. One on every level of your home at a minimum, okay? You can put one in every sleeping space, that's even better. It's the best investment that you can put in your home. $25, $30, there's different price ranges on this. The important thing is that you have a working smoke alarm in your home, because we see the tragedies play out every year. And during these seasons of Thanksgiving through Christmas, those are the highest numbers of fires that occur, which in turn leads to the highest number of deaths across our country. So get the smoke alarms. You can find them at big box stores, and get those installed properly.
So if people are, going out of town, or maybe leaving the house for a day or two, or just, going down the street or whatnot, what kind of things should they be keeping in mind they should be doing? You talked about leaving things unplugged, but what about their trees? Should they make sure that they water it beforehand? Should they, get rid of the tree before they leave if they are traveling?
If you're going to be leaving your home through the holiday seasons and you're not coming back for any reason, maybe until after Christmas, we know people are going to travel to see family long distances. Take the tree out of your home if you have a live tree. Make sure all the lights are shut off. Make sure everything is unplugged. Just because you dump a couple gallons of water in before you leave and you're going to be gone for 3 or 4 days, it's probably not going to do your tree any good. And so the best thing to do is, if you're not going to be home, go ahead and take it down and get that tree disposed of properly.
And you talked about the tree, that the live trees are safe. You just need to make sure that you keep them watered and take care of them. What about fake trees? Is there anything that people should keep in mind with the fake trees as well that could pose any fire risks?
Where we get into problems with fake trees would be if we had a space heater that was setting too close to the trees. They're relatively safe, but if there is an electrical issue with your wiring, which you should always inspect your Christmas lighting, just going through and making sure that there are no frayed wires. So every year, because what we do, we take these down, we throw them in a box, we put them away, and then next year we get them out and we throw them on the tree without looking at them. So make sure that we look that there aren't any problems, and you should be good with the fake trees and your lights. Same goes if you're putting these on the real trees. The real trees are, even though we experience fires across the country every year, and it's usually due to lack of care, extremely safe, extremely fun to have in the home. They give off that aroma. It's very traditional. It's just a matter of people taking proper care of these, because when they are hydrated and taken good care of, we don't see the issues that occur with fire starting in the home due to this Christmas tree. Neglect, on the other hand, will bring big problems, of course.
And then, Christmas night, Christmas Eve comes around, or just people are, have some time off of work, and so they're in the kitchen, they're making food. Not necessarily also from a fire standpoint, but also an injury standpoint. What things should people be keeping in mind when they're preparing food in the kitchen?
One of the things that happens when kitchen fires start is usually caused from distraction. So we start cooking on the stove, we put some oil in a pan, and we walk away and we get distracted. Be distracted by the kids, be distracted by a phone call, could be anything along those lines, and that's where we get our grease fires to start. If you do have a grease fire that starts in your home, then if it's small enough, you can take a cookie sheet, something flat, slide the lid over it, and more than likely you'll be able to smother the fire. Fire grows beyond that, it's not something we want to see you stay and fight. We need you to call 911, get the fire department there, evacuate everybody from the home. It's always nice to keep a nice fire extinguisher ready in case you do have a fire. Make sure that you know how to use this. Just going to the store and pulling it out of the box and setting it on the counter is not necessarily the best way to handle it. There's usually instructions on the side, so you want to make sure that you know how to pull the pin, aim it, squeeze it, and sweep that to extinguish your fire. But again, we want to make sure we call 911, because we've seen a lot of people try to fight these fires on their own. They end up getting seriously injured or overcome by smoke. So if it's a small grease fire that breaks out, do that. When we talk about the hot pans and the hot liquids on top of the stove, just make sure those handles are pushed in a way so you or your child or anyone else walking by doesn't hit those and knock those off and cause a severe burn.
And my last question is Christmas is 4 or 5 days away from now. What are things that you want families or people to be doing right now to make sure that they are safe for this holiday season?
So first thing the moment you see this story, I want you to go through your home. I want you may have these installed, but what I need you to do is test them to make sure that they are working properly. If they're working properly, we're good to go. Now, this has the 10-year battery in it, and that's what you find in most of the new style smoke alarms. But if you have the old 9-volt batteries, and we know people are guilty of this, they burn something in the kitchen, they pop the battery out, they forget to put it back in. So make sure that you have those working smoke alarms. These right here are the lifesavers. These are the things that are going to get you through the holidays if you would have a crisis in your home, such as a fire. So make sure you got one of those that's working. Walk to each room. Make sure we got a safety inspection going on. Make sure these candles are, even a lot of our teens like to burn these candles in their room. Make sure they're not doing that. Make sure they're keeping them put out, especially if they're unattended. Because this is the other problem we see with fires starting in the home during the holidays. So just walking through, making sure you're reducing clutter, working smoke alarms, no sources of heat such as candles, and we'll get through this holiday season safe and sound.